You give your son everything, your time, your savings, your love, and one day he turns and calls you a burden. Can you imagine that? I thought I was part of his family, but behind the baby shower smiles and those quick Sunday texts, he'd been draining my account, bit by bit, behind my back. I'm not just a mother, I'm a woman who gave too much until I found proof and finally stood up. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, this story will show you how to reclaim your voice, your value, and your peace without shouting. It all started with a receipt in my purse, then a loan I never signed, and finally a party where my own son told me in front of everyone, "You're just a burden." Don't wait for heartbreak to teach you your worth. Watch this, because your silence might be costing you more than you know. But before we begin, I'd love to know who's listening. If you're a strong woman who's ever felt taken for granted, drop a 1 in the comments. If you're someone who's walked away from what hurt you, drop a 2. I'll send you a special shout out in the next part of this journey. Ready? Let's step into the story together. The voicemail beeped, sharp against the hum of Ella Fitzgerald's jazz. Ethan's voice carried no warmth, just a clipped, "Mom, call me back. It's important." I stood in my Austin kitchen, April's dusk filtering through the window, the scent of apple pie sharp with cinnamon. My fingers paused on the half-finished blanket for Eliza, their unborn daughter, her tiny hands a dream I'd woven into every stitch. How could I know dreams could unravel? I'd spent the afternoon baking, hopeful as always. The pie sat golden on the counter, its crust flaked just right, the kind Ethan used to sneak bites of as a boy. I smoothed the blanket, soft wool curling under my touch, picturing Haley smiling when I handed it over. They were due any minute, or so I thought. The tulips outside bloomed vivid in the fading light, their petals swaying like a promise. My porch swing creaked faintly, a rhythm I'd grown to love in this quiet house. I dialed Ethan back, heart quickening. The phone rang, then went silent. A text pinged instead, "Busy, Mom, next time." My thumb hovered over the screen, words I wanted to type. "Are you okay? When will I see you?" Fading, unwritten, busy, always busy. The jazz hummed low, Ella's voice smooth but distant, unable to fill the hollow in my chest. I set the phone down, its weight heavier than it should be. The pie cooled, untouched, its steam no longer curling. I sank into a chair at the kitchen table, the wood worn smooth by years of dinners, laughter, and Ethan's crayons scratching homework. A photo of him, gap-toothed at 8, grinned from a frame. His smile was so bright then, so close. "When did you drift away?" I whispered, my voice barely stirring the air. The blanket lay limp in my lap, a promise half kept. Ethan's voicemail replayed in my mind, its urgency off-key, not like his usual casual drawl. He'd sounded strained, almost demanding. Not love, but need. I shook my head, brushing the thought away. He was just busy, I told myself, building a life with Haley, preparing for Eliza. I'd raised him to chase his dreams, hadn't I? Kindness doesn't owe answers, I thought, but the sting lingered, subtle like a bruise forming under skin. I glanced around the kitchen, the heart of my home since we moved here when Ethan was small. The oven ticked as it cooled, a soft counterpoint to the jazz. The tulips outside caught the last light, their colors defiant against the dusk. I'd planted them last fall, kneeling in the cold dirt, hopeful for spring. Hope was my habit, but tonight it felt thin, stretched like the wool in my hands. Haley's face flickered in my mind, her sharp eyes and tighter smiles these days. She hadn't called in weeks, not since I sent that herb planter for their balcony. Did she like it? I didn't ask, afraid of the answer. Ethan used to call every Sunday, his laughter filling this house. Now I waited for texts, scraps of him I hoarded like treasures. The photo frame gleamed, mocking my waiting. I stood, the chair scraping softly, and moved to the porch. The swing creaked louder now, its chains groaning under my weight. Austin's evening air was warm, carrying the faint chirp of crickets. I clutched the blanket, its stitches tight and even, a labor of love for a granddaughter I'd yet to meet. Eliza. Her name felt like a prayer, a hope I could still hold, but Ethan's voice, that cold urgency, gnawed at me. Why was he so tense? What did important mean? I'd always been there. School plays, scraped knees, college move-ins, my life a scaffold for his. Now I felt invisible, a shadow in his busy world. The jazz faded as the record spun out, leaving only the creak of the swing and my uneven breaths. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? I returned inside, the pie's scent fainter now, the kitchen dim. I flicked on a lamp, its glow soft but unyielding. The voicemail's beep echoed in my mind, a question unanswered. What did Ethan need? I didn't know, but the urgency in his voice, so unlike him, promised something I wasn't ready to face. The blanket slipped to the floor, a quiet fall as I stared at the empty table. Ethan's voice was calm, but it cut like glass. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, each word sharp over the phone. I knelt in my Austin garden, April's warmth soft on my back, tulips swaying in the breeze. I'd given him my savings for his wedding, a gift I thought bound us closer. But this call, this tone, felt like theft creeping in. The soil was cool under my hands, bees humming lazily around the flowers. I'd been pruning, the clippers steady, my mind still on Ethan's voicemail from last week, urgent, cold, unanswered. The phone's ring sliced through the quiet, a harsh intrusion against the garden's hum. I wiped my hands on my apron, heart quickening, and answered. "Ethan, you okay?" I asked, hopeful for his familiar laugh. "It's for Eliza, Mom," he said, voice strained, no preamble. "We need your savings, all of it, for a house. Family first, right?" My breath caught, the tulips blurring. Eliza, their unborn daughter, my granddaughter. I dreamed of her, knitted her blanket. But this? My entire savings? The money I'd scraped together over decades, my safety net? "That's my life, Ethan," I said, my voice trembling, soil smudging the phone. Haley's voice cut in, cold and clipped from the background. "Tell her now, Ethan." My stomach twisted. I pictured her sharp eyes, her smile that never reached them lately. "You've already spent the wedding gift?" I asked, disbelief rising. Ethan's pause was heavy, his voice cracking slightly, a hint of stress I hadn't heard before. "Yeah, we needed it. Things are tight." Tight? He'd never mentioned trouble, not in his rare texts, not in his rushed calls. "You're retired, Mom. You don't need it," he snapped, the words landing like a slap. Imagine handing your whole life savings to someone you raised, only to be told you don't need it. Think you know how this conversation ends? You might want to hold that thought. If you're still with me, drop a 5 in the comments, because what happens next might just shift how you see family. I clutched the phone tighter, dirt crumbling under my nails, heart racing. Retired, yes, but not invisible. I'd worked 30 years at the library, saved every penny for a future I thought included him. Family first, he said. But where was I in that family? The bees droned on, oblivious, the garden's peace mocking my turmoil. I stood, knees aching, the clippers forgotten in the grass. "Ethan, that's a lot to ask," I said, trying to steady my voice. He sighed, impatient. "It's for Eliza. Don't make this hard." The line went quiet, Haley's murmur faint, then a click. He hung up. I stared at the phone, my hands shaking, soil streaked across the screen. Did love mean giving everything, even my security? I stumbled back to the house, the porch swing creaking as I passed. Inside, my purse sat on the counter, spilled from the rush to answer the call. A receipt fluttered out crisp and white, dated last week. I froze. It was for a car payment, Ethan's name bold at the top. My signature wasn't there, but my account was. My pulse pounded, louder than the crickets starting outside. Why was I paying for his car? The kitchen felt smaller, the air thick. I sank into a chair, the same one I'd sat in last week, pie cooling, hope fading. Ethan's words echoed, "You don't need it." But I did. I needed to feel seen, not erased. The tulips outside caught the last light, their colors defiant like the anger simmering in my chest. I'd raised him to be kind, to value family. Had I failed? Kindness doesn't owe surrender, I thought, but his entitlement cracked my trust wide open. I clutched the receipt, its edges sharp. The garden's hum faded, replaced by my uneven breaths. Ethan's stress, Haley's cold push. They hid something, I was sure. What else was he keeping from me? The phone lay silent, but his demand lingered, a wound I couldn't ignore. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? Pink confetti fell, sparkling in the April sun, but I stood outside their joy. I clutched a silver rattle, its shine a small hope for Eliza, my granddaughter-to-be. I'd polished it until it gleamed, thinking it would bind me to their new family. But the rattle wasn't the only thing they'd reject, and the ache from Ethan's demand last week still lingered, sharp as the receipt I'd found in my purse. Haley's parents' Austin backyard buzzed with life, the gender reveal party in full swing. Grilled chicken sizzled on the barbecue, its smoky scent mingling with sweet tea clinking in mason jars. Paper lanterns swayed above, casting soft glows as laughter rose, loud and carefree. I stood near the edge, my sandals sinking into the grass, the rattle heavy in my gift bag. I'd driven here hopeful, despite Ethan's cold words. "You don't need it, Mom. Maybe today would be different." Haley spotted me, her sharp eyes narrowing. "No clutter, please," she snapped, waving off the rattle before I could offer it. Her glance softened for a moment, almost guilty, then hardened again. I forced a smile, my fingers tightening on the bag. "It's for Eliza," I said, voice low. She shrugged, turning away, her heels clicking toward the crowd. My chest tightened, the sizzle of chicken louder than my words. The party swirled on, guests snapping photos, kids chasing balloons. I hovered near a table laden with cupcakes, feeling like a guest in my own family. Ethan stood by the grill, his back to me, laughing with Haley's father. I stepped forward, hopeful again. "Ethan, can we talk?" I called softly. He glanced over, his eyes distant, then turned away. My smile faltered, the rattle's weight pulling at my arm. A voice boomed, "Family photo, everyone!" Haley's mother waved people toward a flower arch. I moved closer, clutching my bag, thinking family meant me too. Ethan stepped in front, blocking me. "Just the immediate family," he said, voice cold. I froze, my breath catching. Then he turned, his face hard, and shouted before the crowd, "You're just a burden, Mom." The words sliced through the chatter, heads turning, whispers rising. Haley smirked, her lips curling, though her eyes flickered, uneasy. My face burned, the sweet tea glass in my hand trembling. The clink of ice seemed deafening, the jazz from a speaker fading to a hum. I backed away, sandals catching in the grass, the rattle banging against my thigh. Burden? I'd raised him, packed his lunches, cheered his games, saved for his wedding. Now, I was nothing? The confetti settled, pink flecks on the ground, none touching me. I retreated to the gift table, setting the rattle down, its shine dulled by fingerprints. Haley's sister approached, giggling with Haley nearby. "A rattle? So old school?" Haley said, her laughter sharp, slicing deeper than Ethan's words. I turned away, my throat tight, catching Haley's glance. Guilty again, but fleeting. I felt erased, a ghost at their celebration. Love shouldn't feel like this, I thought, my hands shaking. As I moved toward the gate, a guest, a woman I vaguely knew from church, brushed past, her hand grazing my bag. I reached inside later, finding a folded note, its edges crisp. I unfolded it, heart pounding. Scrawled in pen, "Ethan's in debt." My breath hitched, the barbecue smoke stinging my eyes. The note was unsigned, the handwriting unfamiliar. I glanced back, but the woman was gone, lost in the crowd. Ethan's slander echoed, a wound raw and open. The party's laughter roared back, but I stood apart, the rattle abandoned on the table. My role, my place in their family, was fading, confirmed by his cruel words and Haley's smirk. The note in my hand burned, a clue to something darker. Who slipped it to me? What debts was Ethan hiding? I clutched it, the paper crinkling, my heart heavy with questions. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The peaches smelled sweet, their scent rising from the farmer's market stalls, but my heart was sour. Ethan's words at the gender reveal, "You're just a burden," still burned, and that loan note I'd found in my bag gnawed at me. Haley's fleeting glance, guilty for a moment, hid a truth I felt close to uncovering, but I didn't know where to start. I wandered through the Austin market, April's sun warm on my shoulders, seeking something I couldn't name. The market buzzed with life, vendors shouting, "Fresh peaches, 2 for $1." Coffee hissed at a cafe stall, its bitter aroma mingling with fresh bread and earth. A busker strummed a jazz tune, Ella Fitzgerald's melody weaving through the chatter. I clutched a canvas bag, my fingers brushing the note inside, its scrawl, "Ethan's in debt," a weight heavier than the peaches I'd bought. My sandals scuffed the gravel, each step slower, my heart heavy with Ethan's betrayal. Maggie's laugh cut through the noise, bright as the marigold she loved. "Lenora, you look lost," she said, falling into step beside me. Her eyes, warm but knowing, saw too much. At 60, Maggie carried a resilience I envied, her silver hair catching the light. We stopped at the cafe stall, the barista's machine hissing as I ordered coffee, black, no sugar. The cup warmed my hands, grounding me as Maggie's voice softened. "My family saw me as an ATM too, Len," she said, staring at her mug. "They bled me dry until I fought back." Her words landed like stones, echoing Ethan's demand for my savings, Haley's smirk at the party. I sipped my coffee, its heat sharp on my tongue. "He called me a burden, Maggie," I whispered, my voice cracking. "My own son." The jazz drifted soft and mournful, the vendors shout, "Peaches, get your peaches!" Fading as Maggie leaned closer. "You're not their ATM, Len. You're a mother, not a bank." Her hand rested on mine, steady, and I saw her own pain, a betrayal she'd survived years ago when her siblings turned on her. The parallel stung, amplifying Ethan's cruelty, though no confrontation faced me here, just the mirror of her story. My phone buzzed, Joni's name lighting the screen. I answered, her voice warm but worried. "You sound lost, honey," she said, 3 states away but close as ever. My sister, 63, always knew when I was unraveling. "Ethan's not himself," I said, the market's hum drowning my sigh. "He's hiding something." Joni's pause was heavy. "You're stronger than you know, Len." Her own daughter's distance, a wound she rarely spoke of, threaded her words with empathy. Maggie nodded, her eyes sharp. "Check that joint account you set up with him, Len. Trust, but verify." My breath caught, the note in my bag suddenly burning. The account, opened after my husband's death for emergencies, hadn't crossed my mind in years. I trusted Ethan, didn't I? The coffee cooled, its steam gone, as Maggie's advice sank in. The jazz swelled, a high note piercing the air, urging me forward. I fumbled in my bag, past the peaches, past the note, and found my phone. A voicemail notification blinked, not from Ethan, but his colleague, a man I'd met once. I played it, heart pounding. "Lenora, it's Tom. Ethan's in trouble with—" The message cut off, static crackling. My fingers froze. The vendors shout, "Last call for peaches." Fading to a hum. Trouble? What kind? The market spun, Maggie's hand on my arm steadying me. Maggie's story, Joni's call. They sparked something, a resolve I hadn't felt since Ethan's demand. I wasn't ready to confront him, not yet, but I'd find the truth. The coffee cup trembled in my hand, the jazz busker's melody carrying me back to my garden, to the tulips, to the mother I used to be. I'd raised Ethan to be better, to see me. Pain didn't mean surrender, I thought, my heart cautious but hopeful. I tucked the phone away, the voicemail static lingering in my ears. Maggie smiled, her eyes bright. "You've got this, Len." The market's earth scent grounded me, but the note, the voicemail, and Ethan's betrayal swirled, unanswered. What trouble was Ethan in? Why did the message cut off? I gripped my bag, the peaches soft under my fingers, my resolve hardening. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The email's glow revealed a thief in my son. I sat in my Austin kitchen, the laptop's hum a low pulse against the rain tapping the window. The loan note from the gender reveal, "Ethan's in debt," had been the start, a crack in the trust I'd built over years. Now Maggie's advice to check the joint account echoed, urging me toward a truth I wasn't ready to face. April's gray light filtered through the curtains, casting shadows on old photos of Ethan leaning against a vase. His boyish grin, frozen at 10, mocked the man who'd called me a burden, demanded my savings, and left a car payment receipt in my name. The chamomile tea on the table had gone cold, its steam long gone, the cup's rim chipped from years of use. My hands hovered over the keyboard, heart pounding, the rain's soft patter louder than my thoughts. I logged into the joint account, the one we'd opened after my husband's death for emergencies. The screen loaded slowly, each second stretching. Then, there it was, monthly withdrawals, neat rows stretching back a year. Baby prep, rent shortfall, MISC. My breath caught, sharp and shallow. Hundreds, then thousands siphoned away. My savings, my life's work, labeled so casually. My fingers shook, scrolling down, the laptop's hum a drone in my ears. An old bank email popped up, buried in my inbox dated months ago. "Unauthorized transfers detected," it read, a warning I'd ignored, trusting Ethan. My hands trembled, the cursor wavering. Unauthorized? No, deliberate. He'd taken it, bit by bit, while smiling at me, while Haley smirked, while I knitted Eliza's blanket. The rain tapped harder, a rhythm matching my pulse. "How could you?" I whispered to Ethan's photo, his grin unchanging, my voice breaking the kitchen's quiet. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me, the tea's faint chamomile scent bitter now. I'd worked decades at the library, shelving books, pinching pennies for a future I thought we'd share. Ethan's demand for my savings was bad enough. But this? A thief in my son, hidden behind baby prep for Eliza, my granddaughter I'd dreamed of holding. Trust wasn't just broken, it was stolen, dismissed, like my life's work. Anger surged, raw and hot, burning away disbelief. My phone buzzed, Ethan's name flashing. A text, "Can we meet? I'll explain." My thumb froze, the screen's glow harsh. Explain? What could justify this? His voice from the party, "You're just a burden," rang in my ears, joined by Haley's sharp laugh, her guilty glance at the rattle. Were they in on it together? The rain's patter faded, my breath short and sharp, the kitchen closing in. I stood, the chair scraping the linoleum, its scuffs a map of years spent cooking for Ethan, hosting his friends, being his mother. The photos stared, his grin a lie. I'd raised him to be honest, to value family, but he'd erased me, dollar by dollar. Loyalty doesn't owe blindness, I thought. My anger a fire I hadn't felt in years. The note, the receipt, now this. Ethan's secrets were piling up and I'd find them all. I moved to the sink, the teacup clinking as I set it down, my hands still shaking. Outside, the rain softened, a faint bird chirping through the drizzle. The laptop hummed, its screen still open to the account, a ledger of betrayal. Ethan's text glowed on my phone, unanswered. What did he want to explain? Was there more to his deceit? I gripped the counter, my knuckles white, the kitchen's quiet, heavy with questions. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The floor was cold, but my despair was colder. I slumped against the kitchen cabinets, the scuffed linoleum hard beneath me, Ethan's betrayal a weight I couldn't carry. The joint account's withdrawals, those cruel labels, baby prep, rent shortfall. were a shadow of deeper secrets, ones I sensed waiting upstairs in the attic's dust. May's gray light seeped through my Austin home, the air heavy with the sting of his text. "Can we meet? I'll explain." The kitchen held ghosts of old dinners, Ethan's laughter once filling this space. Now, it was silent, save for the faint drip of the faucet and rain pattering outside. Coffee mugs sat untouched on the table, their handles chipped from years of use. I stared at the linoleum stains, each mark a memory, spilled juice, dropped pans, nights I stayed up for him. My hands rested limp in my lap, the car payment receipt and loan note from the gender reveal crumpled in my pocket, proof of a son I no longer knew. Joni's knock startled me, soft but insistent. My sister, 63, stood in the doorway, her scarf damp from the drizzle. "Lenora," she said, her voice warm, eyes searching mine. She crossed the room, her boots clicking, and knelt beside me, her hug a lifeline. The coffee mugs clinked as she set one aside, her presence filling the void Ethan left. "You look like you're carrying the world," she said, her hand steady on my shoulder. I couldn't speak, the weight of Ethan's actions, his demand, his slander, his theft, crushing me. Joni sat cross-legged on the floor, her empathy a mirror to my pain. "My daughter's barely talking to me, Len," she admitted, her voice low. "She thinks I'm too much, always meddling. But you don't owe Ethan your soul." Her words echoed his cruelty at the party. "You're just a burden." And Haley's smirk, amplifying my collapse. Her own daughter's distance, a wound she rarely shared, made my pain feel less lonely, but no less heavy. "I'm nothing without him," I whispered, my throat tight. Joni shook her head, her eyes fierce. "You're enough, Len, always have been." Her words stirred something, a memory flickering like a distant light. I saw my husband years ago in this kitchen, Ella Fitzgerald's jazz humming from the radio. We danced, slow and close, his whisper soft, "Live for you, Len." His hands, warm on my waist, felt real again, the jazz's soft notes humming in my mind, distant but clear. The memory faded, but its warmth lingered, a spark in my despair. Joni poured coffee, the pot gurgling, the mugs clinking again. "You'll find your way," she said, smiling. I nodded, my fingers brushing the note in my pocket. Ethan's secrets, debts, withdrawals, that colleague's cut-off voicemail, demanded answers. I wasn't ready to face him, but I couldn't stay on this floor, erased by his choices. Hope flickered, cautious but real, urging me to seek truth. Joni stood, offering her hand. I took it, my knees creaking, and we moved to the hall. A creak from upstairs caught my ear, the attic door ajar. "What's up there?" Joni asked, her brow raised. I climbed the stairs, heart pounding, the attic's dust tickling my nose. A box of old photos spilled open, one catching my eye. Ethan, young but serious, with a man in a suit, a loan officer's badge glinting. The date scrawled on the back, years ago, sent a chill through me. I clutched the photo, its edges worn, Joni's gasp soft behind me. The kitchen's linoleum, the jazz memory, Joni's hug. They'd pulled me from the edge, sparking resolve. Ethan's betrayal wasn't new, this photo whispered, but I'd find its roots. My despair, raw and heavy, eased just enough to let hope breathe. Who was that loan officer? What had Ethan done? The attic's shadows held more, I was sure. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The album tore, and so did my heart. I stood in my Austin backyard, the barbecue smoke curling around me, Ethan's childhood locket heavy in my pocket. Once my treasure, a symbol of his small hand in mine, it now felt like a chain I'd soon cast away. The photo in the attic, Ethan with that loan officer, had hardened my resolve. But tonight, I hoped for answers, maybe even peace. May's evening air was warm, the backyard alive with the sizzle of grilled chicken and the clink of sweet tea in mason jars. Ella Fitzgerald's jazz drifted from a speaker, its notes soft under the chatter of neighbors and friends. Marigolds glowed under string lights, their petals bright against the dusk. I adjusted a tray of cornbread, my hand steady despite the anger simmering since Ethan's withdrawals came to light. I'd hosted this barbecue to mend ties, but my heart braced for a storm. Ethan arrived, his jaw tight, Haley trailing behind, her eyes avoiding mine. She clutched her phone, her usual sharpness dulled, almost hesitant. I greeted them, voice calm, but Ethan's nod was curt, his shoulders hunched. Joni, my sister, caught my eye from across the yard, her protective gaze anchoring me. Maggie, my best friend, flashed a smile, her silver hair catching the light, whispering, "You've got this, Len." I poured sweet tea, the ice clinking, and approached Ethan by the grill. "We need to talk about the account," I said, my voice low but firm. His eyes flicked up, dark with something, guilt maybe, or desperation. "Not now, Mom," he muttered, flipping a chicken breast, the sizzle sharp. I pressed on, the withdrawals burning in my mind. "You took my savings, Ethan. Why?" The guest's chatter faded, heads turning. If your own child yelled those words at you, would it be the breaking point or the moment you finally woke up? What happened next still plays in my mind like a scar. Drop a 6 in the comments if you've ever felt erased by the very people you raised. We're about to step into the part that hurt the most. He snapped, his face twisting. "You're a leech, Mom," he shouted, loud enough for the yard to still. He grabbed my photo album from the table, my collection of his school plays, birthdays, our life, and tore it, pages fluttering. "You're bleeding us dry," guests gasped, Joni's glare fierce, her mug trembling. Haley stepped forward, voice soft. "I'm sorry, Lenora," she started, but Ethan's glare silenced her, her lips pressing tight, complicit yet wavering. My chest burned, the album's pages scattering like ash. Those photos, Ethan's first bike, our camping trips, were my heart, and he'd ripped them apart. The sweet tea glass in my hand shook, ice clinking louder than the jazz. I'd sacrificed everything, late shifts, skipped vacations, for him, and now I was a leech? Maggie's hand grazed my arm, her whisper steady. "Stand up, Len. You're not alone." Joni moved closer, her outrage a shield. I straightened, anger peaking, mixed with a pain so raw it stole my breath. Ethan's cruelty, his business failure driving this desperation, didn't excuse this. Haley's aborted apology, her stress hinted at the party, meant little now. I wasn't their burden. I was their mother, dismissed before a crowd. Courage doesn't owe silence, I thought, my resolve hardening, fueled by their betrayal. A torn album page caught in the grass, fluttering under the string lights. I bent down, heart pounding, and picked it up. Ethan's handwriting scrawled, "Paid off." My breath hitched, the marigold scent sharp in my nose. Paid off what? The loan note, the withdrawals, now this, his secrets piled higher, each one a wound. Joni's hand rested on my shoulder, Maggie's nod urging me on. The jazz hummed, a faint pulse in the stunned silence. The barbecue's warmth couldn't touch the chill in my bones. Ethan's glare faltered, Haley's eyes downcast, but their damage was done. The album's ruins lay at my feet, my sacrifices mocked. I'd confront this, I vowed, the locket in my pocket a weight I'd soon release. What had Ethan paid off? Was there more to his deceit? The page crinkled in my hand, a question I'd chased to its end. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The letter's words set my soul free. I stood in my Austin attic, dust swirling under a flickering bulb, my fingers trembling as I held my husband's final message. The photo I'd found here, Ethan with a loan officer, years old, had been a clue, a whisper of deeper betrayal lurking in the shadows. Ethan's torn album, his vicious, "You're a leech," at the barbecue, still bled in me, but tonight May's quiet air promised something new. The attic smelled of cedar and thyme, boxes creaking as I shifted them. Outside, my garden's lemon tree sapling swayed, its earthy scent drifting through the cracked window, a symbol I hadn't yet planted but felt in my bones. Rain pattered softly, a faint counterpoint to the bulb's hum. My phone buzzed in my pocket, Maggie's name glowing. I answered, her voice crackling with excitement. "Find your truth, Len," she urged. Her own past betrayal, family turning on her, fueling her fire. I nodded, though she couldn't see, my heart heavy from Ethan's cruelty, Haley's smirk, the album's scattered pages. I knelt by a cedar box, its lid groaning open. Inside, a folded letter, my husband's handwriting bold despite the years. My breath caught, dust tickling my nose. "Live for yourself, Len," it read. "Ethan's mistakes aren't yours." The words landed like a spark, igniting a resolve buried under decades of sacrifice. My husband, gone too soon, had seen Ethan's flaws, his mistakes vague but piercing. I traced the ink, my fingers steady, the attic's chill fading as pain shifted to something fiercer. The phone rang again, Haley's name flashing. I hesitated, then answered, her voice sharp through the static. "You never mattered to us," she snapped, her words a blade, amplifying Ethan's slander, their dismissal a united front. "Enough," I said, my voice cold, and hung up. The attic seemed to hold its breath, the rain's patter louder now. Haley's callous remark, tied to her business stress I'd glimpsed in her guilty glances, didn't soften the cut. I wasn't their shadow anymore. I descended the stairs, the letter clutched tight, Maggie's voice echoing in my mind. Outside, the garden soil was soft from the rain, the air rich with earth. I grabbed a shovel, my hand sure, and planted the lemon tree sapling I'd bought days ago. Its roots sank deep, the scent of damp soil grounding me. This tree was mine, a symbol of new strength, not Ethan's to claim. The shovel scraped, a rhythm of resolve, my heart pounding with purpose. Back inside, I reread the letter, a line catching my eye. "Watch the loans, Len. Ethan's mistakes run deep." My pulse quickened, the bulb's flicker casting shadows on the page. Loans? The note from the party, the album's paid-off page, the attic photo, they wove a thread I couldn't ignore. Had Ethan forged my name, risking more than my savings? My husband's foresight, his love in these words, burned away the last of my pain, leaving resolve in its place. Maggie's call came again, her excitement spilling over. "You're unstoppable, Len," she said, her laughter warm, a reminder of her own fight against family betrayal. I smiled, the first real one in weeks. "I'm rewriting my will," I said, the words solid, final. The attic's dust settled, the lemon tree's scent lingering through the window. I wasn't just a mother. I was Lenora, reclaiming my life, inspired by a letter that saw me when Ethan didn't. The rain softened, a bird chirping faintly outside. The letter's weight in my hand was light, its truth heavy. Ethan's mistakes, Haley's cruelty, their erasure of me. They'd pushed me here, to this attic, this tree, this fire. What had my husband known? Had Ethan forged alone, risking my home? The cedar box sat open, shadows hiding more, I was sure. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? My voice silenced their lies, rising clear above the hum of Joni's birthday party. I stood in the Austin Community Center, May 2023, the locket in my pocket burning my palm, no longer Ethan's to claim. It had been my treasure, a relic of his childhood. But after his withdrawals, his torn album, his "You're a leech," it was mine to discard. 2. My husband's letter, urging me to live, had lit a fire, and tonight I'd burn their betrayal away. Paper lanterns glowed softly, casting golden flecks across the polished floor. Ella Fitzgerald's slow dance melody hummed from speakers, its notes weaving through the scent of apple pie and grilled chicken cooling on tables. Guests chattered, their voices soft, unaware of the storm I carried. Joni, my sister, radiant at 63, caught my eye from the buffet, her smile proud. "You're my hero, Len," she whispered earlier, her hand warm on mine, her own daughter's reconciliation a quiet victory fueling her support. I stepped forward, heart pounding, the letter and a notebook in my hands. The locket pressed against my thigh, heavy with finality. Ethan stood near Haley, his jaw tight, her eyes downcast, avoiding me. Maggie, my best friend, leaned against a wall, her nod a silent cheer, her own past betrayal echoing my fight. The chatter faded, forks clinking as guests turned, sensing the shift. I cleared my throat, the slow dance melody softening, my voice steady. "I found this letter from my husband," I began, unfolding it. "He told me to live for myself, not Ethan's mistakes." I read his words aloud, their weight settling over the room. "Ethan, you took my savings," I said, eyes locked on his. "Withdrawals labeled baby prep, thousands gone." Guests gasped, murmurs rising. I held up a document, its edges crisp. "And this, a forged loan, years ago, risking my home. You betrayed me long before Eliza." Ethan's face twisted, shame flashing before defiance took hold. "You're nothing but a leech," he shouted, his voice cracking, echoing his barbecue slander. The words stung, dismissing decades of my sacrifices, late shifts, packed lunches, love poured into him. Guests froze, Joni's glare fierce, Maggie's fists clenched. Haley stepped forward, trembling. "I was drowning, Lenora," she stammered, her voice breaking, admitting her business stress, her complicity laid bare. Her eyes, once sharp, now glistened, but it wasn't enough. I pulled the locket from my pocket, its silver glinting under the lanterns. "This was for you," I said, voice unwavering, "but you're out of my will." I dropped it onto the table, the clink loud against the silence, a symbol of severed ties. The crowd parted, whispers swelling, the apple pie's scent suddenly cloying. Maggie nodded, her voice low. "You did it, Len." Joni's hand grazed my arm, her pride a shield. Justice wasn't revenge, it was truth, and I'd claimed it. Haley's purse slipped, a business card fluttering to the floor, trembling in her hand as she snatched it back. I glimpsed a loan company's name, its logo stark. My breath caught, the letter's loan hint and the album's paid-off page snapping into focus. Was this tied to Ethan's forgery? The slow dance melody faded, the lantern's glow dimming in my eyes. My resolve, mixed with righteous anger, peaked in triumph. But Haley's admission, Ethan's shame, they stirred a flicker of complexity. I turned to leave, the center's air thick, Joni's guests stunned. Ethan pushed through, his face pale, following me outside. "Mom, don't go," he pleaded, his voice raw, desperate. My heart lurched, but my feet kept moving, the locket left behind. The letter's truth, my guide. Maggie's cheer, Joni's pride, Haley's broken words, they swirled, but my path was clear. Had Ethan forged more than a loan? What else did my husband know? The night air hit my face, Ethan's plea echoing. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The pen scratched, signing my freedom. I sat in a quiet lawyer's office in Austin, May's sunlight spilling through an open window, cafe chatter humming below. Joni's farewell call last night, her voice tearful yet proud, tied me to home. But my heart was already gone, lifted by the truth of my husband's letter and the locket I'd left behind at Joni's party. Ethan's plea, "Mom, don't go," echoed, but I was done carrying his lies. The office smelled of ink and polished wood, the pen's scratch a heartbeat against the faint melody of a jazz busker drifting from the street. Outside, the farmer's market bustled, peach vendors shouting, "Fresh peaches, get 'em here!" I smoothed the papers before me, my hands steady, the weight of Ethan's withdrawals, his forged loan, his "you're a leech," fading with each signature. I was 61, not a burden, and this will, my final act, would prove it. The lawyer, a kind woman with gray curls, nodded as I redirected my assets to a literacy foundation and scholarships for women over 50. "Bold choice," she said, her pen clicking. I smiled, the first real one in months. Bold, yes, but right. My savings, once Ethan's to claim, would now lift others. Women like me who'd given too much. The busker's jazz swelled, a high note piercing the chatter, mirroring the quiet triumph rising in my chest. My phone buzzed, Joni's name glowing. I stepped to the window, answering, the market's peach scent wafting up. "Len, you inspired me," she said, her voice cracking. "My daughter came home yesterday. We talked, really talked." Her reconciliation, a mirror to my own liberation, warmed me. "You're brave, Joni," I said, my voice steady, the pen's ink still wet on my fingers. She laughed, tearful. "No, you are." I smiled, the market's hum grounding me, her pride a soft anchor. Back at the desk, I checked my email, heart pausing as Ethan's name appeared. "I miss you, Mom," he wrote. "Eliza has your eyes. Please, I'm sorry." My breath caught, his remorse sharp against his past slander, his leech cutting anew. The lawyer handed me the certified letter I'd prepared, a legal notice for Ethan. Inheritance is not a right. I sealed it, my resolve tested but unbroken. His plea, tied to his business failure, came too late. I chose myself, the emotional stakes clear in my steady hand. The pen clicked shut, the papers signed, the will final. I stood, the office's air lighter, the busker's melody fading. My phone pinged again, an email from Joni. "Ethan's asking about you, sounding broken." My heart stirred, a flicker of doubt, but I pushed it down. Broken or not, his actions, demanding my savings, forging a loan, tearing my album, had erased me. Joni's reconciliation, Maggie's cheers, my husband's letter, they'd shown me I was enough without him. I stepped outside, the market's bustle enveloping me, vendors' shouts mingling with the scent of peaches and coffee. The jazz busker strummed, his hat dotted with coins, a nod to small, honest work. I'd been honest, pouring love into Ethan, but love didn't owe erasure. My will, my choice, sealed my empowerment, cutting him out not with hate, but with clarity. The market's colors, marigolds, peaches, popped against May's sky, a canvas for my next steps. The certified letter weighed light in my bag, its words final. Joni's email lingered, Ethan's questions a shadow, but I walked on, the busker's jazz trailing me. Had I inspired him to change, or was his brokenness another plea for gain? What lay next for me? The market's hum, the pen's scratch, my own heartbeat, they promised a future I'd shape alone. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The ring gleamed, left behind with my past. I stood in my bare Austin kitchen, the wedding band a silver circle on the counter, its weight no longer mine. Ethan's plea at Joni's party, "Mom, don't go!" echoed faintly, but my future called louder, a whisper of Florence's light pulling me forward. The will was signed, the locket discarded, my husband's letter, my guide. I was free, and this departure was my own. May's morning sun warmed the kitchen, now stripped of Ethan's photos. The lemon tree outside swaying, its leaves rustling in the breeze. The linoleum shone, scrubbed clean, a canvas for my leaving. I packed a suitcase, my hands steady, the scent of coffee lingering from breakfast. A letter for Eliza, my granddaughter, lay folded. "For when you're ready." I tucked it into a drawer, a hope for her future, not a chain to mine. My phone buzzed, Joni's voice spilling through, proud but tearful. "You're brave, Len," she said, her words crackling from Austin's edge. "This is your time." I smiled, leaning against the counter, the lemon tree's shadow dancing on the wall. "I'm scared, Joni," I admitted, "but I'm ready." Her laugh, soft and warm, carried her own triumph. Her daughter's reconciliation inspired by me. "You're my hero," she said, voice thick, and I felt her courage blend with mine. Maggie knocked, her silver hair bright in the doorway. "You're home, honey," she laughed, stepping inside, her arms open. We sipped coffee, mugs clinking, the kitchen's quiet broken by her joy. "I fought my family's betrayal," she said, eyes gleaming. Now you're free, like me. Her story, once a mirror to my pain, was now a bond, her freedom echoing mine. The coffee's warmth steadied me, the rustle of leaves outside a song of release. My laptop pinged, Ethan's email glowing harsh. Haley reads your letter daily, he wrote. Please, Mom, come back, I'm sorry. My heart twisted, his desperation stark against his past. You're a leech, and the forged loan that risked my home. His plea, acknowledging wrongs, challenged my leaving, a final test of their dismissal. I typed, fingers firm, teach Eliza to notice people. I hit send, the words my boundary, not a bridge. His struggle, Haley's regret, were theirs now, not mine. I zipped my suitcase, the kitchen bare, but for the ring, its gleam a symbol of release. At the airport, Florence's promise hummed, the plane's engine a low roar. I opened my bag, a photo slipping out. Eliza, sent by Joni, her eyes like mine, wide and bright. My breath caught, a pang stirring, bittersweet. I tucked it back, the plane lifting, Austin's fields fading below. The lavender scent of Florence waited, soft light bathing my new apartment above a flower shop. Maggie's laugh, Joni's pride, the lemon trees' sway, they carried me here, to this new beginning. Triumph blended with reflection, peaceful independence settling in my bones. Haley's letter reading, Ethan's plea, they hinted at change, but I was no longer theirs to hold. The photo of Eliza, a hope I might never touch, stirred my heart. Freedom wasn't loss, it was mine, earned through pain. Will I ever see her? The plane's hum answered only with possibility. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The garden bloomed, and I did too. I sat on a mossy stone bench in Florence's Boboli Gardens, June's breeze carrying lavender, my heart light for the first time in years. The lemon tree back home in Austin, its roots deep in my garden, grew like the love I'd learned to give myself. Ethan's slander, Haley's dismissal, the forged loan, they were distant now, shadows fading under this Italian sun. Orange trees shaded the bench, their leaves rustling softly, the air alive with children's laughter nearby. A local girl sketched on the grass, her pencil scratching, her focus serene. I opened my journal, its pages filled with poetry and paints, capturing Florence's golden light. The lavender's scent drifted, mingling with the earth's warmth, each breath a reminder of my new life above the flower shop. My paintbrush danced, colors blending, my hands steady, whole at last. I wrote, the words flowing. I gave too much, but I forgive myself. Zikwe, the pen's scratch was soft, a contrast to the pen that signed my will, cutting Ethan out. His email pleading for my return, and Eliza's photo, her eyes like mine, stirred a pang. But I'd chosen peace over their pull. Ethan's "You're a leech" and Haley's "You never mattered" were resolved, their betrayals distant, replaced by an inner strength I'd earned through pain. Conflict was gone, my self-worth a quiet flame. The girl glanced up, her sketchbook open and waved, her eyes bright like mine once were, full of dreams. I smiled, her youth a mirror to the girl I'd been before Ethan, before sacrifice. She returned to her drawing, the pencil scratch steady, and I saw her sketch. A lemon tree, its branches bold, echoing the sapling I'd planted. My breath caught, the lavender's scent sharper, a connection across oceans tying me to Austin's soil. My phone pinged, Joni's email glowing. "My daughter's back, Len," she wrote, her reconciliation a triumph mirroring mine. "Ethan's silent now. Haley reads your letter," they say. I smiled, no longer waiting for their change. Ethan's silence, Haley's regret. They were theirs to carry, not mine. Eliza, a hope I'd left a letter for, was a light I might never see. But I was enough. "I'm enough," I whispered, the words soft against the children's laughter. I closed my journal, the girl's sketchbook catching my eye as she stood to leave. She'd left her drawing on the bench, the lemon tree vivid, my initials, L etched in the trunk. My heart skipped, the micro twist a quiet gift, as if Florence saw me, as if the world did. I tucked the sketch into my journal, its paper crisp, a symbol of my bloom, like the lemon tree back home. The garden's air felt light, the orange tree's shade cool. My paintbrush rested, Florence's light captured on my page. Joni's arc, tied to her daughter, closed gently, while Ethan and Haley's subplots faded, leaving Eliza as a hopeful spark. Peace wasn't loud. It was this bench, this breeze, this journal. My triumph, deep and quiet, affirmed my worth, closing the arc I'd walked from pain to freedom. I rose, the bench's moss soft under my fingers, lavender lingering. The girl's wave, her sketch, my journal, they were enough, a life I'd shaped. Ethan's erasure, his plea, Haley's regret, they didn't define me. I smiled, the children's laughter fading, my steps light. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? The question drifted, unanswered, as I bloomed. The sketchbook called to me, its lemon tree drawing a quiet echo of home. I sat in my Florence apartment, June's golden light streaming through the shutters, lavender drifting from the flower shop below. The Boboli Gardens piece lingered, the girl's sketch with my initials, a gift I hadn't expected. But home, Austin's lemon tree, Joni's laughter, hummed in my veins, a past I'd left but couldn't erase. My new life bloomed, the apartment's walls bright with my paintings, journals stacked high. The flower shop's bell chimed below, its tinkle mixing with children's laughter outside. I sipped espresso, its bitterness sharp, my paintbrush idle on the table. The sketch, tucked in my journal, stirred a question I'd thought settled. Ethan's silence, Haley's regret, Eliza's photo, they were distant, yet a thread pulled, faint but persistent. I opened my laptop, the screen's glow soft in the morning haze. An email from Joni waited, her words warm. "Eliza's growing, Len," she wrote. "Ethan's quiet, but he's changing. He asked for your old recipe book." My heart skipped, the espresso cup clinking against its saucer. My recipe book, filled with apple pie notes, Ethan's childhood favorite? The request felt like a bridge, fragile but real. I leaned back, the shutters creaking. Florence's airlight but heavy with memory. The phone rang, Maggie's voice bursting through. "You're thriving, Len," she said, her laugh a reminder of her own freedom from betrayal. "But Joni says Ethan's digging into your past." My breath caught, the lavender's scent sharper. Digging? Was he seeking forgiveness or something else? Maggie's joy softened. "You don't owe him, but you're strong enough to choose." Her words echoed my husband's letter, urging me to live for myself. I wandered downstairs, the flower shop's blooms vibrant, the owner's nod warm. A postcard slipped from my bag, one I'd bought but never sent, showing Austin's skyline. I paused, fingers tracing its edges. Eliza's photo flashing in my mind, her eyes, my eyes. The bell chimed, a customer's chatter fading as I saw a note tucked in my postcard. "Come back, Mom. Just once." Ethan's handwriting smudged but clear. My pulse raced, the flower's scent overwhelming. No conflict gripped me now, but Ethan's note stirred a ripple, not of pain but possibility. I'd found peace, my self-worth rooted like Florence's gardens. Yet his outreach, Joni's update, Maggie's nudge, they opened a door I hadn't planned to walk through. Triumph was mine, but could it hold space for him? I returned upstairs, the note in hand, the sketchbook's lemon tree a mirror to my own growth. The espresso cooled, the shutters creak, soft. I journaled, words hesitant. I'm whole, but home calls. Joni's arc, Maggie's freedom, Ethan's silence. They wove a story unfinished. Eliza, my hope, waited. Would I return, just once? The note's plea hung, unanswered, a new path unfolding. Did I raise him, or did he erase me? Perhaps I'd find out. The Boboli Gardens breeze carried lavender, but my heart held the scent of my Austin lemon tree, its roots a quiet promise of growth. Sitting on that mossy bench in Florence, I journaled my journey. Ethan's cold voicemail, his demand for my savings, the sting of his, "You're just a burden," at the gender reveal. Haley's sharp dismissal, the joint accounts betrayal, and that attic photo of Ethan with a loan officer, they'd led me to collapse on my kitchen floor, despair heavy. Joni's warm hug, Maggie's fierce encouragement, and my husband's whispered memory, "Live for you, Len," pulled me back. I'd faced their lies, my resolve sparked, ready to uncover the truth. Here, in Florence, I found peace, my paintbrush capturing light, my soul blooming anew. I learned that love doesn't mean losing yourself. A mother's heart can give endlessly, but it must also hold space for her own worth. Ethan's choices hurt, but they taught me to stand tall, to forgive without forgetting. In life, if we cherish family, we listen, we see each other, not just what we can take. My story isn't unique. Many of us carry quiet wounds, hoping for healing. I found strength in letting go, in choosing me, and that's a path open to all. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. If my story touched you, please share your own in the comments. Your voice matters. Let's keep telling our truths together.